Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Mike Arnold here, co-founder, Path Trading Partners, along with Bob Biachino, who's not here today. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, Wavely, as always, Tesla, Tesla, Tesla. Welcome, Shashi, welcome, everybody else who's not saying anything yet. By the way, if you're new here, please do consider subscribing, ringing the bell, and hitting well, just hit the dislike button for me. Dislike this video across the board since Tesla's back below 1,000. Not that it matters, we trade it both ways. We're not one of those bull-only channels. By the way, just to get it out of the way, we had those buy patterns from Friday. One of them was in the 60%, one of them was in the 70% range, and both of them stopped today. That actually gives me a great topic, though, for today, which is because I've reiterated this yesterday, but then again in Discord today, it's invalid on the closing basis below Friday's low, and we got the closing basis below Friday's low, which we did not get over the last 2 days. Now, before I get into the price action today, how do you mitigate this, especially with the selling if you're waiting for a close? Well, one of the great things to do is when you get these sell, especially these momentum bars to the downside, you can always put on, shorts to help because you're waiting for it to close. So you're essentially offsetting the down moves with putting on some shorts to help offset if you are going to get the close below that. That's essentially trading around the core position again and using intraday price action while waiting for a close. Today, we had the gap up. We had let me remove some of this. Let me just move this up. We had the gap up. And remember, you put on your targets for oops, I have them backwards. Sorry about that. You always do your to the opening bar high, and then you watch for the close below the 62.5. The 62.5 was right here. Close below it. At that point, it was target the gap fill. It was tough. Reward to risk was off. Then you got the momentum bars. The momentum bars to the downside. When I see momentum bars, I do it from the start of the momentum bars, which now I got to reverse it again. The start of the momentum bars were there. Then we got this brief little pause, and then a rollover. The bigger pause right here could not even get back to the 50% level, roll over again. And then overall, keeping here. So if you went from this is from the momentum bars that started to move, it could not get a close above the 62.5. If you're doing from the whole day move, it just got above the 50 and couldn't get to 62.5. But this was then this prior support area. Then I'll get to some comments. You see here prior support that was broken after the gap fill, becoming resistance, and then just a rollover play cascading down into the close. Could not sustain the bounce end of day above 1,000. We got back to 995 earlier, and then pretty much closing right there at the lows for the day. So not particularly bullish. Now we do have some potential divergence, and this is no longer potential double bottom. The only thing there is from the bullish side is, and again, these, and I'd only play these if we got a very strong rally in the NAS, a buy above 1017.29 on a closing basis is a technical 4-hour trigger. Not even going to look at the 1-hour trigger. And there's technically a buy above today's high on a closing basis, which would actually take it back to neutral mode. But you'd have to wipe out this whole bar tomorrow to get that buy pattern. Other than that, this closing now below the gap open on the 10th of January, closing below the candle bodies into this clear path move. And by the way, this gap is part of a clear path move. And the full target for that would be down around 917. We are in bearish mode on the daily. So unless it gets back to neutral mode, rallies are still, even with a 4-hour buy pattern, it's moving up stops and definitely watching the top of the rotation zone to move up stops and or take profits for potential rollover moves. You see, we could not get a close into the 4-hour rotation zone, and then today even testing the other side of it and just rolling over. So that's going to be your first thing to see if we have a temporary bottom. If you're going to play something aggressively to the long side, if you played this aggressively to the long side tomorrow with a close above this little bar, you'd definitely be watching, moving up stops with the rotation zone, and then watching to continue playing it from the long side on a close at least above the 4-hour rotation zone. To the downside, which is where it still favors unless we get some bottoming move in the NASDAQ. Next targets are, let me move it here. Next targets you see right here. We have this low from the 10th of January. Then I'll get to questions. 980. Your harmonic is now 980.51. And then we have a significant level down here at 966 area, and you have another harmonic right there. Then below that we have the rising 200 on the 4-hour at 951.50. So those are all the continuation targets to the downside. Let me see here what we have. No, you're not a big fan of the 1-minute chart, but I was using 1-minute scalping shorts like a hawk. That's great. I'm only a fan when we have momentum moves. That's it. Other than that, I will not take a look at the 1-minute chart. Since you'll track retracement on that move from the open to daily low, notice, yeah, we covered that both from the high and from that open and from the momentum bars. We never got above that 62.5. Yeah, I think Tesla longer term, especially after earnings are out of the way, could be more cascading, sells lower, and for longer term, I'm getting more and more bearish. Especially after the earnings report is out of the way. Do nothing day got in and out with a minor wound, and sometimes that's all there is to it. You take a shot on a signal, and then if you get out with a minor wound, if it goes against you, fine. That's part of trading. Again, I get these messages. Your signal got stopped out. Okay, well, on a 70% signal, you're going to have 30% on average get stopped out. That's part of trading. And people who will walk around looking for like these 100% signals don't happen. Even signals in 90%, unless you're doing some option plays, which you're exposing yourself to a lot of risk to capture short-term gains when you get big sell-offs or big rallies. Those are signals in the 90%, but there's nothing. Again, you got to analyze reward to risk and percentage. Those are the key things. Don't look at one separate from the other. Let's see. Hey, Amit, how are you doing today? Pokemon cards are looking like a pretty good investment. Again, don't put, and this is trouble people get in with if you're just trading one stock, because especially if you're not willing to short. If you're just trading one stock and not willing to short, then yeah, it can be challenging, and I think this will be challenging longer term at some point for Tesla bulls who long only. This is why there's plenty of other great things to trade. Go watch the market overview, which had an error in the restream with the title thing today. Don't know what happened, but I retitled it. But there's stuff, there's stuff to shorts like the HD, the targets, which we covered. But there's also things like, look at the CME group, which I'm looking to get in. From a long perspective, there's other things to trade. So you want an example of a potential long, take a look at that. Again, educational purposes only. Boy, my dogs are going nuts about something. How to spot that reversal at 985. The reversal we don't have yet at 985, or which reversal are you referring to? If we were, my next target is 980. What I just watch for, if we got down there, is again I watch for either momentum bars coming off the low, I watch for a double bottom, or I watch for divergence and then potential momentum, especially when fighting the trend. That's how I'm looking at it, uh, for potentially anything bullish. Other than that, on any rallies, especially shower rallies, it's just for rollover plays unless we start getting tons of momentum in the NASDAQ. Then I will get a little more aggressive. Hi, Dave. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm done trying to get into long-term position. No, everything's just tradable at this point. It's not long-term. Even on bounce plays, I wouldn't do them for long term. It's aggressively move up the stops on any long trade. All the catalysts get sold out so quick. Yep. Yeah, longer term, I'm watching for those into the 800s again. That doesn't mean we can't get. I'm going to play high probability signals until then, if there are some great high probability triggers, because I have to play the probabilities. But overall, it was, as I said, any long play, it's aggressively move up stops, and take partial profits and then get your stop to break even, and don't let it turn into if you catch a bounce, don't let it turn into a loser, which is why take some profits off the table, get your stop to break even, because this can roll over on a dime, especially with the broad markets. Because even if we get a bounce in the NASDAQ and everything else, I'm looking to bounce to prior support, becoming resistance, and then roll over again. Definitely feels like the top is in for me for a few months at least. You could have had the major long-term top put in November. It'll really be telling, especially with the weekly, once we get the close below the weekly rotation zone, and then if we still trigger this massive potential double, then it's really I will really get into bearish mode again. Really get into bearish mode. Let's see. At least maybe I'll take a couple of few great quarters along with social adjustments to higher rates. Anybody looking for certainties in trading is in the wrong business. There's only one certainty in trading, is you will take losses and you will take stops. If you don't take losses or stops, then the market longer term will take the losses and stops for you. It's called margin calls and forced liquidation. And there is even investing, you will take losses, especially when you have rollover markets. I mean, so many people have been spoiled. Really, we've had the Fed involved since 2009. I mean, you've had markets that Federal Reserve's been involved with, cut in rates, with quantitative easing, besides brief little respites. These markets have been propped up for so long, and they'll probably step in again at some point. But again, we have major inflation, and we've been on a bull tear. I covered that in the market overview. Just take a look at the NASDAQ essentially yearly chart, and you'll see what a tear we've been on. One down year since 2009, and it was barely down. That should tell you something. And so many people trading nowadays have not been around since, they've not been trading since before the Fed's been involved in the market. I'm not talking the Fed's always been involved in the market, but not in a QE, quantitative easing standpoint, not with rates pinned to zero. Let's see. If the 980 price is completely broken, the structure will change. If this is a very key low. I will be watching for that break on a closing basis, but even intraday. But a close below 980 on a closing basis, I tend to agree with you. And we could be seeing another cascade, at least 3-leg down move there. So, What's the purple moving average? That was on for market overview. I'm just watching it because there's some stuff I'm paying attention to. I don't normally put it on, but it was for market overview. I just didn't take it off yet. What's interesting is now look at your next harmonic area with that significant level. There's your 100. That's just what it is. I'm going to be watching it for the next couple days in market overview just because I'm watching for a potential reversal play with that in the NASDAQ. So don't disagree. Don't, and Rich is not financial advice, educational purposes only, right, Rich? And again, this is all for educational purposes. It's to help people get better and analyze themselves. And people like Rich, you know, he's coming up with his key areas, and I don't disagree with those. So, Mike, with reality setting in for the markets and various equities, knowing this is your personal option, is that a knowing this is your personal opinion, I think you mean, and analysis, what do you think fair value is with the actual business in mind? Oh boy. This year, I could easily see hitting, I think reality over the next couple years is going to definitely catch up. I could easily see longer term back into the 600s this year, easily. And my fair values overall longer term below that for a number of reasons. Even for EV stuff, take a look. You know, you want to do some interesting research. Take a look. You know, you have global lithium supply. Take a look at that, and then if every bit of global lithium was used for EVs, what the max production right now, and it's not easy to bring a lithium mine online quickly, and it did peak out in 2018. Take a look at what the global lithium supply is if you were to dedicate everything to just EVs, and that will never happen because lithium's in the batteries and a lot of other stuff beyond EVs. Just take a look and tell me what the maximum capacity is roughly. That should be pretty telling because once we start hitting that range with all automakers, it will get very interesting. And the lithium supply is going to be the one of the key market components in the next couple years for capping out with EV deliveries, which I think a lot of people are missing. And certain companies have a lot better stakehold in long-term lithium deposits than others. And then this is separate from just Tesla. So that's a very interesting study to keep an eye on with potential limiting delivery numbers across the board. And I'm talking with every company. It's not quick to bring a high producing lithium mine online either. Let's see. Well, thank you, Wavy. You'll save a lot of Tesla permables. And it's starting to shift. And again, just like the markets, we're getting a massive Tesla distribution pattern. So this is, you know, it's getting, it can't sustain the rallies as much. They're getting sold quicker and quicker. Doesn't mean you can't have bounces. Again, nothing's going to go straight down, but the bounces are getting sold quicker and quicker, which is what happens at major tops. Don't just take this as a Tesla thing. Take this as, you know, Tesla's been one of those high-flying growth stocks. You're seeing this in other high-flying growth stocks. You're seeing this in a lot of overvalued stocks too that are going to come under pressure. I talked about this in market overview with inflation, and inflation might come down a little, but it's not going back to 1% in the next couple months. Okay, so we're going to have inflation pressures sticking around, and even let's say drop to 3 or 4%. That's just still 3 to 4% on what we've already had baked in. I mean, go to a grocery store. Look at the price of a lot of stuff. It's not going back to where it was anytime soon. So even people are saying, well, if it gets down to 3%, that'll be great. That's still 3%. Now, on top of what we've seen. So this is longer term. Until this really gets under control, you could see a lot of pressure longer term into the markets until we get to some better valuations. And one of the things I also talked about in market overview was that even some value stocks aren't at a good value. There's not a ton that's at good value. Banks are still, there's some banks that are still at good value. That's why I'm bullish on banks longer term. I'm very bullish longer term on commodities in the super cycle, and there'll be some great plays in there. Beyond that, it's more of a case by case basis, and even some what are considered safe companies aren't at safe valuations. So if we start getting major selling pressure in the broad market, and we have not yet had major selling pressure in the broad market, if we start getting major selling pressure in the broad market, there's not going to be a lot of places to hide, especially in stocks like Tesla. But even in some other stocks, you're even seeing it. I mean, Home Depot is the darling we touched on, and people still think that's safe. But here's your double. There's your weekly chart, Home Depot. There's your double top. It's already hit the first target, and this could easily even return to 341, get another bounce, and then even a longer term. Not to dilute the Tesla broadcast, but I'm just pointing this out to people because even stuff, and Home Depot's not going anywhere, but the valuations got way overextended. Way overextended. Let's see. Guys, we need to get this stream out there, spread the word. Lots of Tesla traders still out there will love this kind of, yeah. I'm trying to help people. That's really is to it. And I think everybody who attends this normally daily is starting to see that. That the point of this, I get even, you know what? Oh, now you reminded me. Because I get people reach out and email, and there are some mean people out there. But I got accused of putting out that I'm a raging bull, that I'm only putting out, and this is people obviously not watching the stream regularly, but I only put out bullish signals, and that I'm only doing this to try to sell a course. There is no course for sale right now. There's some older stuff that's out there that, but I don't market it at all. It's not even in the description. B, I am working on a course, but that's just to help people longer term, and it's, do it to share the knowledge, but it's not like a get rich quick course or anything else. And see, if you call me a raging Tesla bull, you've really not watched this for a long term. I'm going to list bullish signals, and I've done it more often just to help people because like this was a lesson. Fine, they got stopped out, but it let me talk about trading around a core position and how to wait because it was waiting for a closing basis. But how do you mitigate risk? Well, when you get that selling pressure, you can put on temporary shorts, even with puts or put spreads, to help offset those potential losses. So if you do have to stop something out on a close, then you've offset them with some potential shorts. Again, it's all part of trading around a core position. What was this? Let's see. I don't know if lithium futures. There might be something out there, but I don't know that they're listed. I've never seen anything. I'd love to play lithium futures. And if I'm not mistaken, unless something has changed, one of the poorest countries in the world, Bolivia, is one of the largest supply of lithium on this planet. Not so poor anymore. Yeah, there's supplies of lithium, but you can only get it out of the ground at such a rate, and that's the key. And a lot of it's already spoken for. It's a very interesting study because that's one of the things. Unless the battery technology changes to where you don't need lithium or you need substantially way less lithium, which there's some interesting battery technologies out there, but it's not going to shift that overnight either. Tesla weekly looks interesting. Yeah, you still have this massive double top. You still have the weekly rotation zone, but do you watch that key level? If we continue to decline, my first level is that weekly close below about 956 area, but my major focus is on 886. Yeah, I know, and it's not happening, Sean. A lot of what's said during it's not happening. Even I know, look, there's a bunch of misinformation out there. That's even there's a bunch of promises by certain people in Tesla, who shall go unnamed, that a lot of promises have gone on for a long time without ever happening. And by the way, you're not mining lithium with salt. Always wondered this EV is challenged as all OEMs are battery cell constrained. No, make what they project and tell us what they want to do. It's all about cells and efficiency. Yeah, and there will be limiting factors in that. And I'm not just referring to Tesla. I'm talking about the broad EV market. I agree. Hydrogen, that's been put on the back burner, but I actually love the hydrogen fuel cells. I actually think that should be revisited. It's I'm gonna roll it out in stages. It's just with the markets right now. I've had very little time at the beginning of this new year's with markets the way they are right now. And by the way, like starting to work on it now is like at this time of night when I still have market prep to do for tomorrow is it gets hard. With anticipated 3 to 4 hikes this year, I wonder if the Fed is testing the waters to tame inflation. Can they? I don't think they can get to 3 to 4%. I think they'll start. They have to start hiking to do something with inflation, but then it's going to see if they put the Fed put back in place. Which, oh no, we're doing too much damage to the markets. Let's try to start QEing again and cutting again before we've really tamed inflation. That's where it could get interesting. Wouldn't that cause issues for small companies? Uh, this year is going to be very interesting in terms of the markets and what the Fed is willing versus not willing to do longer term. Do some more investigation, Dave. There's a lot of it's already spoken for. Again, you have about 6 million vehicles produced across all automakers that will probably tap out the lithium unless some major. And Afghanistan is also full. It's harder to get out of Afghanistan due to geopolitical issues. But even if you mine it, and that's taking into account Bolivia and Afghanistan, unless you can substantially increase rates, even we're not even back to where it was in 2018. Just wait until the SEC steps in. I think now you're referring to Tesla again. Which is always the carrot dangling out there. And the moment the SEC does actually something besides the easy cases, I will be mind blown. But you always do have that overhang. One of the things you won't hear here is, by the way, for people who accuse me of being a raging Tesla bull, is you won't hear me just parroting back raging bull Tesla talking points. So there's been a lot of manipulation. But we have an SEC that only goes after, the waiter trading on inside information and won't take on the big difficult cases yet. I mean, I guess they're sort of going after I just blanked out on the name. I have to now look at my EV list. No, what is it? I just blanked out. What's the other one they're going after from Trevor Milton? I just blanked out. Well, thank you, everyone. Let's see. How does anyone interpret you, Mike, as a Tesla bull? Need me one of those adult beverages? I'm in dry January. Dry January. No drinks in January, so you won't hear me finishing the day with an adult beverage at this point. Yeah, thank you, Nicola. Yep. With that, thank you, Amit. They got busted for they went after him for well, Trevor said a lot of stuff also, which was not entirely true, and they rolled the truck down the hill, but that still pales in comparison to some of the stuff that's come out in the company that shall not be named. With that, I will talk to everyone later, and I hope everyone has, yeah, he rolled the truck downhill. That's what I said. Hope everyone has actually somebody have an extra adult beverage for me tonight, since I still have 12 days left of no adult beverages. So, talk to everyone later. Bye for now.